What's up in our issues crew? Today, we're going to talk about HSPs. That stands for highly sensitive people. Without further ado, here's the IOI crew.
All right. Well, welcome to In Our Issues.
Welcome back. And today we're doing it all in song.
We're talking about highly sensitive person.
Yeah, who are very artistic, so doing it in song is appropriate, but we're not actually going to do it all in song.
No, we're not going to do that. As much as I would love to.
Yeah, we'll have a musical episode down the line.
Acronym
Absolutely.
for people who are annoyed by a highly
just
sensitive
turn on
person
auto-tune.
singing in their house. That'd be P, W. I don't know. I'm not an HSP.
It would be BILL.
I feel right. Yeah. There's other stuff. I'm not an HSP, but you guys both identify that way, which is really cool.
I'm still new in my journey, and my therapist actually was the one who told me about highly sensitive persons.
Nice.
So I was like, funny story really quick. I came to her, I was like, I feel like with my sensory overload and just like the stuff that I experience with clothes and environments, I was like, I'm wondering like about an autism diagnosis. Like, is that something that you would think that aligns with who I am? And she was like, honestly, there are a lot of things that I don't see that would indicate that you have autism. She's like, I don't see those things. But what I do see is that you have a lot of traits of a highly sensitive person. And I was like, I have no idea what that is. So I'm really excited that we're going to get into it.
I like that. Taylor Thompson.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. So I can't remember when I learned about highly sensitive people, but HSP stands for highly sensitive person, y'all. And they are about 15% of the population, and they exist in animals as well.
Really?
Like higher up, it's the same percentage.
Dude,
So
totally up to you. You can say we, right?
I guess we could, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't say we, but
Yeah. So 15 to 20% of the population, both men and women mixed. But out of those 15 to 20 percentile, 30% are actually extroverted, highly sensitive people. Which is
Okay.
very interesting.
that is interesting.
I know you.
So a higher percent is introverted. That actually makes a lot of sense with the research I've done.
Yeah. And so we are getting our research from Nathan got his research from Elaine. What is her name? Hold on. Let me look at it. Elaine. How do you say it? Aaron.
She and her husband came up with this theory.
So she has a book called The Highly Sensitive Person.
Which is what I'm reading and doing research from.
And you can look up more information on that on her website, hsperson.com. And your house is haunted, Bill. That's very scary.
Now, I got a really good couple story. I mean,
This is
really
like the
good.
fourth time his speaker has just decided to speak to us.
That's my TV.
unannounced.
But that's okay because the computer over here is restarting, and that's why that happened. But
And,
I got a great ghost.
Not to interrupt,
Hey,
though.
we need to define HSP.
I just did.
I mean, like,
No, and then I want to also say that I got my research. You got your research from the book, and then I got my research from Patrick Tian on YouTube. He does a video called The HSP and Childhood Trauma. So go check out that video. We'll link it below. It is amazing. And then we will have Nathan go into the more eccentrics of highly sensitive person and the definitions and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, and I guess to elaborate a little bit on the definition, I feel like the definition itself is, and we almost had a bill go splat.
Almost had a bill trip
I
up.
have a prediction. We have a shortcoming. Not a shortcoming, but, a short will be made.
Basically,
a tall falling.
Yes. Me taking a crash.
a highly sensitive person is somebody who experiences arousal in more intense bits. So what I mean is that something that is physically and or mentally stimulating to the average person is going to be more so to a highly sensitive person. And it's actually there's a whole spectrum of this sensitivity across our cultures, and the highly sensitive people fall outside the norm because, or at least they do. It depends on the culture, but in American culture, they definitely fall outside the norm because our culture kind of champions a how should I say this?
Cold nature.
Oh, somebody who can like handle lots of things at once and get stuff done is kind of more where the person was kind of where our culture glorifies the trait. That's the trait our culture kind of glorifies. Highly sensitive people fall outside of that. They tend to have more artistic temperaments empathetic traits, the ability to feel other people's emotions and be affected by them, and the ability to just listen and understand and in ways that other people can't.
Yeah, I wrote it down in a way that I think would be really easily digestible that Patrick goes through in the video, and I think that it would be really easily digestible. So for the framework for highly sensitive persons, it's an acronym called DOES. So the D stands for depth of processing, which is you have a deep internal world and you're always seeking meaning from external things.
I know you have
Nice.
O is overly stimulated, which means you're drained easily via chaotic situations, you know, kid's birthday party, busy restaurant, concerts, things like that.
Can I ask questions or do you want to read those?
Let me read them first and
Yeah,
then ask
let her
questions.
go
If you want to
through.
write it down so you can remember. E
Crayon pen. Thank you.
E is emotional responsiveness, which is aware of others' emotions, and you're oftentimes consumed by other people's emotions. You take on other people's emotions and you feel like you can fix them.
You answer my question.
S equals subtleties, sensory, and stimuli, which is you notice subtleties. You're very, very attuned to sensory and like outside stimuli and stimulus. So a really good analogy that he said in the video was a highly sensitive person will notice that the sun's coming in through the blinds and they will get up and see that the sun's coming in through the blinds and close them for you.
I had trouble with that question on the test
Ooh,
because
I like that. That's a really great analogy.
because I do that, and you've seen me do that with that exact example of the blinds. And I thought about it for a minute because that I watch things to see, make sure like the temperature, anything. But I think that's just because of my past of being a sales guy.
Yeah.
Having to notice everything.
Yeah, and also like a highly sensitive person's is this is a spectrum, right? It's not like one size fits all, right? You have to get obviously you have to get over a certain amount on the little quiz that you're going to take to like be considered more of a highly sensitive person, but it is definitely a spectrum. You can
I
have some
scored
traits.
so lowly on I got an 8.
It's also really interesting because it is genetic.
It is.
Yes,
Really?
being a
Okay. Yeah,
highly
neither of my
sensitive person
parents,
is genetic. So it is.
That makes sense to me.
It is a nature-based thing like eye color.
Okay. Yeah.
What was the acronym again?
Does.
Just does. Okay, I just want to write that down.
So I don't remember what the E was, but I was going to ask you if you're being an empath, because and that's something I learned about from you. You feel other people's feelings, and it can be really flooding, and it can be kind of horrifying sometimes. Is that the E there? Or is this something else that you get to do in addition to being highly sensitive? Or is this a trait of that high?
Yeah, that's definitely a trait of the emotional responsiveness, I think, is being aware of other people's emotions a little bit more so than other people are aware.
But
I think a lot of times highly sensitive people feel a little bit alien because other people aren't like that. And we are.
But I think you actually feel things
I do,
physically.
yes. And I think, there's a huge intersectionality, which we'll talk about later, which is why I wrote a lot from this video, is there's a huge intersectionality between childhood trauma and highly sensitive persons.
Yes, I've
And
got
how-
some notes on that as well.
Yeah, and how the trauma can really kind of flood those sensory stimuli a lot more than normally. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about that later. But some other traits too, like you said, highly empathetic. They seek meaning or purpose from a lot of different things. They need time to reflect.
Yes.
They're very detail oriented. They have difficulty with change, which is a huge thing for me.
Me too.
They're very solution focused. They get overly stimulated. They take things very personally. They are aware of others' needs. They have difficulty making decisions, and they need a lot of downtime.
Shit, no kidding. I mean, pretty much, you've known me a while. Everything but I was going to say the downtime, but I'd disappear for days. I don't know, man. Maybe I need to look at it again.
Yeah.
I think the difficulty in making decisions can come from the fact that being a highly sensitive person, like your nature is to be like, when you're overstimulated, it can be hard to be clear of mind and make a clear decision. And your path forward might seem muddy or muddled. And it kind of comes from like being hyper aroused by things. It kind of the emotions and the anxiety and stuff that comes with that kind of gets in the way of your ability to like just see clearly, Yeah.
I think too, like with highly sensitive people, at least in my experience, I can't speak for HSPs as a whole, but in my experience with being like having difficulty making decisions is that I am constantly aware of every possible solution, because that's how my brain works, is I'm very solution focused, which is why me and you say that I'm a little bit more masculine mentally, is because I'm always like going to give you a solution. At the same time as I'm extremely empathetic. So they kind of mesh with each other in that, like, I want to solve your problem and I want to find a solution for your problem,
but I'm really sorry that you have it.
because I feel your feelings so much that like I also understand how hard it is to feel that like I want to fix it for you because nobody fixed it for myself.
It's almost an unfair advantage. I mean, it's kind of a superpower, really. If you get something out of it that's tangible like that, that's pretty, I could see where that would be work that would
I think that I have a list too on here of recovery ideas for highly sensitive people who have also experienced childhood trauma or just in general. So we could talk about those later. But that's something that we'll definitely get into.
That we should. Yeah, we should. I feel like that would be a great thing to transition into, like when we're wrapping up, sort of thing.
Yeah, of course.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
One thing that I want to mention, because I'll forget it, is one of the things that I did look up was how to find a therapist that knows about HSP. And so I have a resource that a lady named Jody Clark put together. She's a therapist, and we're going to link to it.
Perfect.
Because I think, one of the things we've talked about several times is just because they have a degree doesn't mean they're a fit.
Right. Did it say like that there was a specific modality or type of therapy that worked best for HSPs?
I don't know.
Okay.
Because I didn't read the whole article. And if it did, I don't know that I would tell you, because I don't like when people say things like that. You know what I mean? Because then I don't want to go into an appointment thinking I got to do it this way or it's not going to work.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's definitely fair. I was just curious personally.
I don't know, but I'll tell you when I read it.
Cool.
That's helpful.
Give me
All right. I just wanted to transition into saying some of my notes here are kind of echo what Amanda just shared, as well as elaborate on it a little bit. So like I said, about 15%, 15 to 20, or about 15% of the population is HSPs, and it exists in animals as well at the same percentage.
That's
so
really
it's
cool.
it's kind of a biological link between living things.
That makes a lot of sense based on what Amanda said of the genetic piece, if it's something that's innate in living beings.
If you're an HSP, you tend to reflect on things more and sort them into finer categories, which means that being reflective means that you're going to be spending a lot of time in your head thinking about things, but it also means that by sorting things into finer categories and, coming up with this system of this system of the way your brain is organized, it makes your intuition stronger, which means you can pick up and work through information in a semi-conscious or even unconscious way.
I do that.
So what that means is you may not be able to recap exactly what your reasons for knowing things are, but you just have a feeling that and that feeling tends to be right, because you have such fine categories for your information that it's a freaking library, endless library in there. And you might not be able to exactly pinpoint why you think that something is going to happen, but you just know.
I think that makes sense, because with highly sensitive persons and you like analyzing your environment so much and picking up on other people's feelings, like you are pattern recognition software. And so I feel like that just like kind of clicks with that point, is that like you're constantly analyzing, that your brain is already like pre-programmed to look at that pattern, see what the result is going to be, and then like know what's going to happen. So that's really interesting.
That's really cool the way you said it too.
Yeah.
Because and then you followed it perfectly. It's data, and your body has stored that data. And we haven't talked about body keeps score, I think, but it's innate in you. So when your amygdala gets triggered, it goes, your brain's remembering all that stuff. And you're ahead, kind of like chess is the way I think about it. You're a little bit ahead of the rest of the people in the room sometimes.
Yes, because it's semi-consciously too.
Yeah.
It's like you get this feeling and you're aware of it, but it's like you might not be able to pinpoint exactly where it's coming from, but you just know.
Thank you very much for saying feeling. That's the word I was forgetting. And you've said that to me a couple times. And I imagine you're the same way, because I hear you talking about it. I think that feeling, I'm just speculating, comes from all that data that's stored in your body that something's about to happen. I've seen this before. It's not right.
Yeah.
Something weird.
Especially when you're constantly taking in that stimuli, you're constantly feeling and you're constantly flooded with that emotion.
Yeah.
You're definitely going to be like hyper aware to kind of everything, to stimuli in general. I think that's a big part of being a highly sensitive person.
I mean, it's kind of Sherlock Holmes-ish, right? The clues are all there. I don't see them because of my experience. You do. And those clues are coming from people, in this instance. I got something else I'll think about. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. And I think we'll talk a little bit later too about the meshing between HSP and hypervigilance as well.
Yeah, I have notes on that.
Yeah.
The article, kind of a letdown, to be honest with you.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry.
It was everything that you would say off the top of your head.
Oh, okay.
But it did not address your question, which was a good one, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure probably with something like HSP, it really just probably depends in terms of therapy, like what's going to work best for you. I think it's just one of those things where you just have to find somebody that's worked with it before.
That's kind of how I feel about it.
Because like with OCD, like they say that the gold standard is exposure response prevention, but that might not work for everybody. So it's really just about your journey. Really just about your journey.
Might not work for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Sucks ass, by the way.
Yeah. It would be nice if everything was one size fits all, right?
That's where my brain was going. Wouldn't that be nice? Medium stimulation for normal people is high stimulation for HSPs, and high stimulation for normal people can push HSPs over the brink into what's called transmarginal inhibition.
Holy crap, that's a word. Define that for us.
TMI.
So it's basically it's just where the body shuts down and you become catatonic and unable to make decisions or do anything.
That explains a lot. About
that's my freeze response. I do that.
You become inhibited because it transitions over a margin. Transmarginal inhibition.
Yeah.
And the term was actually coined by a Russian psychologist named Ivan Pavlov.
Pavlov again.
No comment.
He's a physiologist, not psychologist. My mouse was in the way of the word, and I read it wrong. And he coined the term and began the discussion surrounding HSPs.
Oh, wow.
He believed that the fundamental differences between people is where that shutdown happens, and that HSPs are the quickest to shut down, which makes a lot of sense.
Makes sense for my upbringing, for sure.
What does shutdown look like?
Shutdown looks like I've had enough. I need to get away from this. I need alone time, or else because I can't do anything otherwise.
Shutdown looks like, for me, when I'm very overstimulated, this often happens in the morning times for some reason. I have to go into my closet, turn off the light, get a blanket, get a pillow, just lay down and be in the quiet with no. Sometimes I'll listen to music. Sometimes I'll journal, but it has to be turning off the lights, turning down the noise.
Okay, that makes sense. That's kind of a process
stimulation
that you've gone through and developed.
Yeah.
What did it look like when you didn't know what was going on?
It looked like anger, frustration, irritation, rage. It looked like lashing out at other people.
When you're in the shutdown mode.
Yeah. Specifically when my window of tolerance, we'll say, gets I get way too off on my window of tolerance. I can't tolerate the sensory stimuli anymore. A lot of it was anger. That was a lot of the, this is all coming full circle in this moment right now. That was a lot of the reason for my anger issues. My anger issues stemmed from being overstimulated and not knowing what that looked like. And the only way to be able to deal with it would be to rage or throw something or punch a wall.
This needs to stop. How do I make this stop? You guys are making me upset. It honestly even makes sense that you might blame someone else for that, because it's a situation that is being caused by other people, even though it's because of your inherent sensitivity.
I think also too, when you are an HSP growing up in an environment without other HSPs, HSPs or with other people that are like normally sensitive, right? Instead of highly sensitive,
Yeah.
you also feel alienated in that way because you're
Absolutely.
like, why do I care so much and feel so much? And no one else understands that, and no one else gets that. I remember when I was a kid, I would get so emotional and so upset about what like my parents and my family deemed as like little things or things that weren't that big of a deal, and they were huge to me. And it always felt so foreign, and I always felt so alien. Like, why does this matter so much to me and not to everyone else? And that is its own kind of complex that you develop as a result.
Yeah. It's just, it's a whole like, it's just being, because you're 15% of the population and you're the way that your brain works is just outside the norm. And therefore it's going to be you're going to run into situations like that all over the place. And, and the possibility of you being surrounded by normally sensitive people growing up is very high.
And what's really funny that I'm realizing too, and what I realized with a lot of this research is this was a lot of the reason I turned to alcohol. Like, alcohol helped dim down the noise. This is not a suggestion or a
That makes sense.
recommendation.
That makes sense.
Not
Let me
really,
just
yeah.
say that. But I realized when I got sober, like, I would say that I'm of the 30% that are more extroverted. I am a more extroverted, right? But like,
I'm more the introverted.
but that's what I would use alcohol for, was to uplift that extroversion and to quiet down that noise. And so I would be able to handle all these social situations so much better than I used to, because the
Yeah.
alcohol was dimming everything, because it's a depressant, right? And well, I guess that's probably why. I don't really know, really. But yeah, and that's really interesting to like think about, and that's something that I really honestly, I think, just kind of made that connection now.
I got to take this test again.
That's
'cause I
cool.
used to do that too. I want to jump back to something you said about feeling, the feeling, because it's never occurred to me. I was always like, I'm not a person that gets those type feelings about people. And I always kind of wondered if it were true or not. But that makes sense, because it's not like you have some superpower. It's just like your body and your brain have been through so many situations that you had to record that data for, that you do have more prescience maybe than I do in situations.
And it's all about discernment as well. Like, it's all
knowing
about
how to interpret the data.
Yeah, exactly. And knowing if this
vast
data,
library.
if this data is coming from a place that is, valid, and that, the reality of this data is true, right? Or if this data is mimicking a past data and you're looking at it and thinking it's the same data, when in reality, it's probably just a couple numbers similar.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was cool. That the feeling thing. Yeah. Okay. That could be a real thing.
Yeah.
And then you said something about someone thinking, no one else gets this. And I just want to think on this one, because that may, to me at least, be the very base of mental unwellness. When I feel like no one else gets it. No one
That
else has ever
disconnection.
felt this way. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. And I think that when I did, get sober and I realized what I was doing and why I was drinking, obviously to mask my trauma and other things. It's not just because I was a highly sensitive person. There was so much going on in that.
And
but
sometimes it's fun to drink. It's okay to say that too.
That's true. That's true.
not for me anymore. But yeah, I realized how much I did get overstimulated, actually, and relearning that and trying to navigate that as an adult was so weird and so difficult for me that, now I have so many tools and so many plans in place. I always carry earplugs with me wherever I go. I have one that's on my keychain, like, things like that. Like, I always have hand sanitizer in case smells are too strong. I'm very sensory oriented. And I talked to you about this early on in, being at the recovery center, was that I'm so sensitive to sensory stuff. And for a long time, I thought it was because of my trauma, but I'm learning now, as I'm learning more about HSPs, that it probably has a lot to do with that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that too, because I don't know how long we know each other, but I didn't understand that. I understood the words, but I didn't know what they meant to you. So I didn't know that you were getting flooded or having a bad reaction or having these intense feelings when people would come into your office and talk to you about whatever it is. I understood it rationally, but I did not understand it completely.
Yeah.
And that was probably frustrating. And it's a good lesson for me. I don't like it when I look back and think, I really thought I had that and I didn't at all.
Yeah. I mean, like, I never get upset with people for not understanding something like that, because it is a hard thing to, like, it's an extremely hard thing to conceptualize, right? Like if you don't experience like empathy in such this strong way that I feel like I do, and probably other people do as well, that it's something that I've learned that is kind of an ineffable unless you've experienced it.
Yeah, that
like
makes sense.
really unexplainable.
Yeah, no.
So I've kind of like relinquished that kind of, anger and control and upset and frustration with people when they don't get it, because you're not going to get it unless you experience it. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, and there are probably people based on the level of the relationship that you have had to explain things to a little more, or to the point where they did understand.
Yeah, and sometimes they understand it, and sometimes they don't, and that's okay. And I've come to a place where I'm okay with that.
Cool.
Sometimes it's really annoying and frustrating, and I want to yell, but you know what? I'm trying my best to be calm and centered.
Don't talk about it. Let's do about it.
On the subject of yelling and being aroused, arousal can. Arousal can occur due to fear, joy, or any variety of emotions, and therefore can also induce those emotions, and it becomes kind of cyclical.
True, and all kinds of memes popping in my mind. But
And I also wanted to. That's funny. And I also wanted to. Maybe we can post some of those to like the Instagram. And I also wanted to add the last thing from the Russian physiologist. He said that HSPs should be considered to have an entirely different type of nervous system, which I thought was kind of interesting.
I mean, that would totally make sense.
Yeah.
That would totally make sense.
Because the nervous system works so differently from, just an average person.
Yeah, and especially if you're having so much like excess stimuli, those neurons have to work extra hard to compensate for the excess stimulus. So then that would have a greater impact on, your nervous system and the whole wiring. I mean, that would definitely make sense. That's just a thesis.
You guys keep going.
Well,
I'm sorry. I said that and then I'm going to cut you off. So this lady, Lori, I'm going to mispronounce her last name, so I won't do it. HSPs naturally use their depth of processing to take in large amounts of information from the environment and relate it to their internal experience. We nailed that one. I'm impressed. All right.
We did nail that one.
I will say some questions you can ask yourself or were you finished with your little point? I want to make sure that
Oh my gosh.
that you're finished. What?
Your little point.
Oh, I didn't mean to say like it was like not important.
I
didn't
have
mean
another.
like that.
If your thing, I feel like your thing is a little bit on topic right now. My next point is kind of like an elaboration on what I just said. So
okay, you can continue, because I was just going to go over some questions you can ask yourself.
Okay, actually, yeah. Okay. So, being aroused and feeling aroused, to an HSP, being aroused and feeling aroused are not always in tandem with each other. Like, you can be putting up with something consciously without realizing that it's wearing you down.
Yeah.
And so
you
don't feel like you're not feeling aroused, but you are aroused, and you're not aware of it.
That actually happens to me so much. I'll just give a personal example. It's like that will happen to me so much when I'm like in the morning, I'm in the middle of a conversation with my boyfriend, and he's like either like complaining about work or like really excited about something, and like his voice is pretty loud and like the lights are bright, and I just woke up, and that's when I'm like the most like sensory irritated is in the mornings.
Yeah.
And like he'll just like be talking and like be getting really excited about something or like really like loud and whatever, and then like in the middle of the conversation I won't even realize that it's irritating me until it's already too late.
Yeah.
And then it'll be like he's in the middle of his point, and I'll just be sitting there like this, like really overstimulated, not knowing and on the brink of a shutdown, not knowing what to do. And then I'll just have to, we've come up with like a little thing where I'm just like this.
Oh, I like that.
Where so he can like turn down the volume.
Aww.
And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Am I being too much? I'm just really overstimulated right now. And I'll either go and like exit, or I'll let him finish his point, and then I will go and,
That's really
just
sweet.
kind of decompress and like journal and get to my like quiet space. I didn't realize how much that kind of stuff impacted me until very recently, which is wild, because looking back, I've always been this way,
Has it made a difference? Are you happier, like existentially, with knowing?
I think it is a twofold issue. Like, it's really good to know that this is a thing that I experience. Cool. So I know that like, oh, I'm not in the middle of an episode or, I'm not, just being extremely traumatized all the time. Like it is actually a really positive thing for me because now I can understand how to work with what I got. That's why, that's why, we say symptom management is important. We say that symptom management is really important and that like your diagnosis, is important, but symptom management is more important. But I think a lot of times too, like putting a name to things, I think is really important so that like you can reach out to a community that understands in a very similar way and learn what they've learned about things.
Never argue with any of that. Never. You're exactly right.
But that was a really good question. What about you? Do you feel like you've found a greater understanding within yourself by learning about being an HSP? Feel like it's good for you?
I think so. Yeah. It's, I think that, being neurodivergent, with ADHD and possibly autism and stuff like that. And I think that HSP is, it's kind of shaking hands with that stuff. And it kind of feels like a lot of this stuff is relatable to me in a similar way. And I think like probably the main thing that the one thing that is just like obvious, super obvious to me is the overstimulation is how I react to overstimulation with my thoughts. And when I hit for instance, when I hit a trauma trigger or when I start to get, or when something isn't working out the way I want it to, my brain starts to go, well, first I have the mean brain that's like saying it's not good enough and trying to stop me. But then there's also, the other side that is trying to solve the problem and thinking of like 7 different ways that I can solve it. And then before I know it, I just want to go to sleep because I'm tired of
it's
just
draining.
trying
it's so
to think.
Draining.
Yeah. It's just, it feels like a thunderstorm, all around me. And it's just, and literally I'm just sitting in a chair, but it feels like a thunderstorm. And so then, so that's when I'm just like, okay, I am going for a bike ride or I am going to take a nap, depending on how much energy I have or something, and just doing something else. But it's so being able to contextualize that is huge. I will say that.
I think that's awesome. That's a really I think great point to make and kind of analysis of it. Definitely.
One thing we didn't mention, and I don't know if you may slap my hand on this one, but HSP is a personality trait according to the clinicians. It's not a mental illness. So
personality trait.
Yeah. Now there are lots of things that can exacerbate or lead to potentially HSP that are mental illnesses, but HSP in itself is considered a personality trait.
Interesting.
It's a genetic personality trait?
Yeah, it's
it's genetic.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is personality genetic? Oh, that's
I think it's the
There's
whole
a big discussion about that, right?
That's just where my brain went. That's a fascinating topic.
I wouldn't necessarily I don't know if I would classify an HSP as a mental illness or because it is just like an
inherent
influx of stimulus. Which could be for some people and could not be for others, because when you have HSP and you grow up because HSP, if you grow up, what I learned from this video too, is if you grow up in an environment that has, obviously you're kind of alienated, people don't understand you, there's some trauma and stuff in there, you're more likely to have anxiety and depression. But if you're an HSP who grows up in a stable family home who kind of understands you, then you're less likely to have that anxiety and depression.
Let me throw a curveball at you. So there's also a part of HSP, which is hypervigilance, where, and this does get into the chess kind of analogy, where you may be 3 or 4 steps ahead of somebody or everyone in the room because of your experience, what you've been through.
Do we know that hypervigilance is inherently an HSP trait?
I do not. And I shouldn't have said vigilance.
Hyper awareness.
There you go.
Yeah.
I will say the hypervigilance definitely. I have a whole list of the way of traits HSPs tend to have, and hypervigilance falls
Okay,
neatly
perfect. I
underneath
just wanted
that.
to make sure that we were.
I will say that
all
that
speaking the same
it
language.
tends to it certainly seems like it.
I
Awesome.
imagine that part
awesome,
of
but-
why my kid is 19 steps ahead of everybody is because it was a way he felt like he had to protect himself, you know, from my illness. So,
Damn.
and I don't know if he's an HSP, but yeah, definitely that.
I mean, he
piece.
is
And
very,
that was based
very
on-
artistic person.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Very, very smart person.
Yep. So yeah, you're right.
So maybe there's some. Well, speaking of, we'll get into some questions to ask yourself too. We have a whole sheet, but just to kind of summarize
We'll link
the sheet.
to the test.
Yeah,
There's a test.
There is a test, but just some questions. I seem to be aware of subtleties in my environment. So yes or no questions, obviously. I am bothered by intense stimuli like loud noises and chaotic scenes. I avoid violent movies and TV shows. When people are uncomfortable in a physical environment, I tend to know what needs to be done to make it more comfortable. Deeply moved by arts or music, other people's moods affect me. And I could say yes to literally all of these.
Let me ask you a question that's on the exam.
Yeah.
I become unpleasantly aroused when a lot is going on around me.
Yes.
Is that when I think of aroused, I go sexually? Is there a different arouse that I'm missing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that right quick?
Do you want to? Because you were just kind of talking about it. So
Arousal
you literally just said it
meaning-
earlier.
Yeah.
So just go back to the note in the doc.
That's backhanded shade
Arousal,
at me for not
yeah.
listening.
Being
No,
aroused,
it's not.
being aroused and feeling aroused. Wait, arousal can occur. Okay, wait, where does it say? So I said arousal can occur due to fear, joy, or any variety of emotions.
And you did
so
say-
basically what that means is arousal meaning just any heightened state of, brain thinky
Okay.
is like basically going to, that's the technical term, is
Well, why didn't you say,
Any
they should have said
heightened-
brain thinky.
Yeah,
I'd be like, oh,
any heightened sense of brain thinky where you're just like you're suddenly flooded with thoughts and feelings.
I knew it didn't
then,
make
then
sense.
your brain has become aroused.
I knew it
That's
probably
my point.
didn't make sense, but I have a friend who's my age, and I know when he was in situations that were a lot's going on around him. I mean, it had to be a lot. He would get aroused. Not like, emotionally, but like physically. And he's like, what the hell is going on? So that's why I asked about that one.
Very interesting. Yes. But I think that it is, if you think of it in a sexual way, it is kind of an interesting comparison to make.
Let me ask if it's just that feeling that comes out of, wherever it comes and it's a skyrocket and you got to do something about it. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oftentimes that's what it feels like. Yeah.
Okay.
Just in a very different way.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
We get brain blue balls.
brain blue balls. I love that.
That's the
I love
first
that.
time I didn't get to name
Oh
the
my
album.
God.
Oh my God. Brain blue balls. I like it.
I wish we could title that the episode,
Ben,
but I don't
it's
think it'd be appropriate.
Too much pent up energy needs to go somewhere, man. Brain
No,
blue
exactly,
balls.
exactly. And that's what it is. It's like
love
your
that.
body feels like the only way that I can personally describe it for myself is that it literally feels like there is so much coming into my brain at the same time that my body is just flooded with anger and irritation and upset, and I want to scream and I want to cry and I want to punch a wall, and there's oftentimes nothing I can do about it. So if
Yeah.
I'm like, and like this used to happen to me all the time when I was a kid, like I would be laying in bed, but I would be hot and I would be sweaty, and then my ceiling fan would be making a noise, like a clicking noise. And then I could hear outside all of the crickets and all of the noises, and then I could literally hear the footsteps of my parents or my brother or whatever, and all of it would feel way too much, and I would just like scream and have to like completely shut down, and I
Right.
would just completely go like,
That would make me really frustrated growing up. I'd be like, this sucks.
yeah. That's a lot of my life. And I, as I've said before, I grew up in an environment where it was like, what do you have to be sad about? You have your basic needs are being met. Be happy kind of thing. And so I had no space to feel all of those extreme, kind of feelings and emotions, and the childhood trauma only sprinkled more on.
Yeah.
Perfect storm.
Yeah.
Or
Which we
dumped.
can kind of go into that is.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So
No, go for
some
it.
of these things, like I make it a high priority to arrange my life to avoid upsetting or overwhelming situations.
Right.
I wish that I did that, but I don't do that. But I know when those situations are going to occur, and I don't do a fucking thing about it. Now, I'm thinking I could check that even though I don't take any action to prevent it. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm just because a lot of things that you guys are saying,
Let me see what it said.
I do, and I had a really, really intense experience a week ago, and I shut down for 3 days. Literally shut down.
Sounds like overstimulation to me.
Yeah, I think it's important too to put into perspective. You are also somebody who struggles with ADHD, and there is so much symptomatic overlap between a lot of these things. Mm-hmm. And so I think that it's important for you to use that discernment on because you could be somewhere on the HSP scale because of your ADHD.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm not. I was just interested because I'm again symptom management, but I'm like, yeah, I think maybe it counts even if I don't do that.
Yeah, I mean,
have that reaction.
maybe you making that a high priority in the future would be beneficial.
Yeah, I was about to say,
responsible. It would be doing the right thing. It would be being proactive. Those things are not my go-tos.
They are not, unfortunately.
No, I wish they were.
Yeah, it's living with ADHD, speaking from somebody who's living with ADHD, living with ADHD can be very frustrating because you just want to get stuff done, but sometimes your brain just gets in the way. And then when that happens, you get frustrated, and then you get and that can cause your brain to go into overdrive and overstimulation because the frustration is like, oh my God, I have all this stuff to do and I'm not doing it. Like, I just wish I could. That happens to me a lot.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that's like dealing with both.
Let me tell you what's even worse is ADH weed. Because we
are not in the business of comparison.
No, but I'm telling you, I got up to get, a drink, and I put 2 pieces of ice, whatever they call them, in a glass and went and put it on the coffee table. And then realized I didn't even pour liquid in it. And I didn't even have the attention span to get more than 2 whatever's of ice.
We need to do a part 2 ADHD episode because I have a friend that really wants to talk about it. So.
I went and filled it up with ice, brought it back, no liquid. Mm-hmm. I had to get up again.
Dude,
to get the drink part.
I'll get up. I want to write an idea down, but I have my journal, but I don't have a pen. So then I walk over to the mirror where my pen usually is, and I can't find it. And then I forget the idea, and then I get frustrated about forgetting the idea. And then when I finally find my pen, I'm like, what was that idea? And then I finally get it done, the next day when I when I
get back to it,
sometimes, but no, more often than not, it poof.
If
into
my
the aether,
idea is
gone.
too long to write down, or it's disappearing too fast, like they fade, like this, ocean hitting the sand. I texted our IT guy at 3:00 in the morning one time and said, I got to know how to record my voice on my phone. And as soon as I did, I was like, just make a freaking video, dude. But I do the same thing. Either my notes or I scrap a piece of paper, and I never go back and look at them.
Yeah, I keep telling myself that going back to look at them would be a good idea. For instance, I'm writing I want it to be an animated series, but I have 2 different story ideas that I'm working on, and I have like over 1,000 notes buried in my phone that I know that some of those are going to be super helpful nuggets of information that I may or may not remember. And it's the kind of thing where I keep telling myself that I want to go back and look at them, but I just going back and looking at notes would be helpful, but I do the same thing. I don't.
You have lots of time, Padawan.
Oh.
Get yourself ChatGPT and tell it
I gotta go to Dagobah and train.
Tell it to read to you from your notes while you go to sleep every night.
There you go. All right,
you can do that. You said chat GDP, yeah. So okay, you know what? I didn't realize. Yeah. Okay,
read all my starred notes to me when I go to sleep. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's a great idea.
Okay.
Make me some popcorn. You go.
Like to just randomly give yourself some reflection that you didn't even realize you needed.
When we start mining data from our phones as peers and we can use that collectively, I've told you this.
BetterHelp does that.
Not to this
in a terrible way, in a bad way.
Yeah, we're looking at
Don't use BetterHelp.
When
Thank you.
generative AI catches up.
Yeah.
It will be very nice.
They did. There were some They're dealing with some lawsuits, so they might change their ways.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So HSP and trauma. I want to get into this because we only have a short little bit left. And Patrick described it very interestingly as a louder nightmare when an HSP has to live inside an abusive family system.
Shit.
Yeah. And
that's I'd say that verbiage is nicely accurate.
Yeah. It's interesting because it is a nature-based trait being affected by a nurture issue. And he described the experience because he was an HSP and he didn't feel like in his family system other people were not an HSP, kind of similarly to me. So I wrote this down because I related to it, is being painfully aware of how others don't feel as much as I might have in a given moment, which I thought was really powerful. And that's kind of really what I resonated with a lot. And an HSP, often in abusive family systems, will hold all the emotional tension in the family, which is very much what I feel like happened with me.
And then
I just felt that pretty deeply,
that
actually.
with you for sure, dude. Just what I know about you. But you know what? That everybody has the same experience, right? You're the same family dinner, but you're feeling it differently than everyone else, and they don't know that because why would they?
Which is why oftentimes you see two different siblings or two different, even twins, right? Like two different people have very similar experiences growing up and they almost live in different worlds, right?
Yeah.
Because like for me and my brother, I wouldn't necessarily describe my brother as an HSP. He might be. I don't know. I haven't looked too far into his experience or asked him about it. But for me, my experience growing up and his experience growing up, very, very
I was
vastly
gonna say, you know
different.
what really blow your mind is ask your brother how he was raised. Mm-hmm. Like what?
Yeah. No, we talk about it sometimes and it's just like, are we living in the same reality?
Exactly.
Like, did we live in the same reality?
I know for a fact that I definitely to an extent feel like I lived in a different reality than to my siblings, but I am reconnecting with my family and my siblings, and it's nice because it feels like we're all part of one unit again.
Yeah, it's cool. Like growing up and becoming an adult and being able to like.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Full stop. I'm really happy for where you are. You've done a lot of work and it's very cool.
Thank you. Yeah, the past year has been intense.
And still feel that way.
Yeah, that's awesome. I have some more stuff I want to get to.
Perfect. I did want to say one more thing about the trauma thing.
Oh, yeah.
Is that HSPs are actually susceptible to low levels of serotonin. So stress reduces those serotonin levels. So you're just pretty much serotonin depleted.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And then if you add ADHD onto that, I can't even imagine. Like, can't even imagine.
How do I exist? Yeah, it's because that's
Nathan, let me read this to you right quick.
Sure.
This is talking about a person who writes all the time. For me, the main solution is staying creative. Making or writing something original is part of being high and highly sensitive people.
Yep.
Yes.
So I'm writing a book on something entirely different from high sensitivity.
Lovely. I mean, that's why I write all the time. I have to.
You do
I have
write.
to journal. I have to.
Yeah.
I have to write my poetry. I have to do that kind of stuff. It's what keeps me grounded whenever I'm feeling super overstimulated or like I just need to get it out, because a lot of times it feels like you just want to pull your hair out and you're just. This is the only way I can describe it. It's just like feeling like this.
That is a good image. That is a good image. It's like a constant like vibration that just won't go away. Like that's
and writing is the only way that I can like writing or listening to music or like screaming in my car to music is like the only way I feel like I can really be like cathartic, right? Dancing, I love dancing. Dancing is a good
dancing
one.
works too.
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for me, like singing along to music, working on music, but also like writing, like that's my big one. Like those two stories I mentioned earlier. When I need to remove myself from reality and just feel calm, I just kind of like remember the story I'm writing and the images that flash into my head, and suddenly I'm somewhere else.
Yeah, because highly sensitive people have a very rich inner world. They love daydreaming.
You both have the capability of creating an inner world, and I don't do that. And we've talked about that before.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. HSPs tend to be, this is a list of things that they tend to be. So audience, listen up, because these if you have a good number of these, there's a high chance you might be an HSP. They tend to be better at spotting errors and avoiding making errors. Highly conscientious. Able to concentrate deeply if we can avoid distraction. Especially good at tasks involving vigilance, hypervigilance, I mentioned, accuracy, speed, and detecting minor differences.
Oh man,
What?
Super fast. You're wrong. That's how it goes. Here's what messed up. Oxford comma. Go ahead.
Able to process information to deeper levels of what psychologists call semantic memory. thinking about our own thinking.
It sounds like there's
Jesus.
It's almost like critical thinking. A lot of critical thinking
On steroids.
Yeah, but which is a good thing.
Able to learn without being aware we have learned. Kind of like
I juice information like crazy.
Now, I said that I identified with that last time when you brought it up, but what I meant was when I sleep on things, it may be a week or maybe a month, 3 months, my brain's working on it for real, because I'll just wake up with the answer. You know what I mean? But I think I've always done that. I've always heard a lot of people do that. And so that can be a trait of multiple things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. Deeply affected by other people's moods and emotions. We've talked about that quite a bit. When being observed, I think this one can kind of apply to a number of different people, but especially to HSPs, I can assume. When being observed or timed, it becomes difficult for us to display our top skills.
I get that. When somebody's sitting in my office when I'm trying to do something, I can't work. I cannot work when somebody's in the room with me.
Okay.
Which is so interesting. Like, I don't know. It's just difficult.
I was going to say I can't.
It feels there's so much pressure to perform well or something.
Right. And like, if you think about school, you had like the timed pacer test. You had time. You were being timed all the time.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I do a writing workshop where I'm timed, where I'm like, we give a prompt and then we give you 15 minutes to write. But like, I master that. I think it's because it's expected.
I love anything that's timed. Yeah. I want things that are timed. I mean, I look for games that are timed just so I know that I'm faster than everybody else.
So I guess here's where there's a bit of a war inside my head, because the ADHD part of me, like having that time limit like on something will help with my time blindness and help me be like, okay, let's see how much I can get done by this time. But then, the HSP part of me is just like, oh my God, it's a timer. I'm not, what do I do? Like, there's a little bit of both. But I will say that I think I am in that camp.
What about the observing?
Observing, oh, absolutely.
Like if somebody's observing you, do you get stressed out about that, or does it help?
Oh my God. I will perform so well in doing a vocal cover for, the internet and stuff. But like if I sing in front of people,
okay.
Now I'm the same way, but
because I know some people who have ADHD like to body double.
It's hard. Yeah. But having a body double definitely helps. I will say that. Body double?
Yeah. What's that?
Just having somebody there that you know and trust.
I think this is like the third time we've explained this to him on this podcast.
I was thinking about something else.
ADHD be like.
That's why I have Ashley. Yeah, she's my body double.
There you go.
So it's interesting that intersectionality, right? Is like you need somebody to body double, but also you don't like being observed in that way.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm getting better at the performing thing. I'm trying to get out more and perform more and just get used to that. But yeah, it's definitely a thing. Cool. And we also may seem like we're not catching on to things at first, but over time we remember more than others.
Yes, sir.
Why? And this is why we tend to be good at learning languages.
Ooh.
You know what that makes it difficult for someone who is not an HSP, especially someone with a bad memory who doesn't follow through on anything? You remember everything I ever did wrong.
Yes, I do. But everything you ever did right as well.
Thank you.
You do a lot of things right, Bill. Write those three things down. The three things that I've done right in my entire life.
I could think of at least more than 3 things.
You're sweet.
So remember what I said about our culture glorifying a particular set of traits?
Yeah, and I was going to mention
our
that
personality.
It may be that the culture is just focusing on what's the most statistically normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The outputs.
For music and for TV and movies and restaurants and all that stuff. Going with the biggest group of people. So you guys get left out.
Yeah.
And there's an interesting study about that in the book I was using for research. In China, shy and sensitive children were among the most. So they did this. So wait, let me preface this with they did an experiment with something around 400 school children in China and like about 300 school children in Canada, and they can kind of compare and contrast how they were socialized into what personality traits they're socialized into valuing. So In China, shy and sensitive children were among the most chosen to be friends with peers. And also in Mandarin, the word for shy or quiet means good or well-behaved.
Interesting.
Whereas in Canada, shy and sensitive people were among the least chosen. So
Interesting. Yeah,
it's-
culturally, that's a shift right
Is
there.
that before Trudeau took over and everything went crazy? like
that's
the
a good
socks.
question. Not sure. But the point is that there's
I
a
wonder if
cultural difference.
Yeah, I wonder if it's
Definitely.
based upon an individualistic society or or societies that are more like community based. I wonder if that makes a difference.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like that's
honoring
that's
that, yeah.
right on the money.
I
Actually,
mean, I think we're seeing a little bit of shift here in the United States, whereas people
Yeah.
are becoming like they're finding more value in emotional intelligence than ever before. I think.
I think that's growing too. Like mental
Which I
health
think
is on the
that
rise,
HSP
and
people have high emotional intelligence.
yes, extremely high.
I think they have, from what I know, the capability of having it.
Yes, the capability of having it. It's just about kind of nurturing
Yeah.
that skill for sure. It's definitely a learned skill for sure.
And the critical thinking I throw in there too. And those two traits will get you anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that the collectivist versus individualistic.
That's
sort
what
of,
the word I was looking for. Thank you.
like society, like I think that sort of societal structure. I think that point about societal structure is very resonant with how people are socialized within it. So
Yeah.
I think that that's a really solid point, Amanda. And just some little tidbits, that I was researching kind of like on the way in here. Just some fun stuff that's a little new. HSPs often find that their first marriage or relationship, like later in life, they find that their first marriage or relationship turned out to be more of a way to cope with their sensitivities that they may grab or hang on to, even though it wasn't.
Whoa. What?
What? No.
No, I'm just confused. What does that mean?
It's okay. Let me word this. So
Wait a minute.
they often find that their first marriage or relationship was I read in the book that a lot of people that were HSPs that were interviewed, they found that their first relationship was like they found comfort in their in their sensitivities, like in like finding someone that would cope with their sensitivities in a way that allowed them like not to grow, basically.
Oh,
that makes sense.
very interesting.
Like, so
No idea what you guys just.
that checks out for me.
it's so it's like it was more of a way for them to cope with their sensitivities instead of like
Challenging them?
instead of challenging them.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
understand
that's
that.
just an interesting one.
Is there an example?
I
just didn't
didn't write an example down.
So I
but-
think for me, in my personal experience, most of the time I get into relationships with men who are very emotionally avoidant. They don't talk about their emotions. They're not very emotional people, which then allows me to deal with my emotions on my own. And that,
Like if you don't have to, I don't have to.
right.
Yeah.
Thing, yeah.
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 That does click with what
Yeah. Whereas
I heard.
now in my relationship, I feel like my partner is emotional, a lot more emotional than any of my other partners. And it has challenged me in a way that has called me on my shit, but both allowed me to grow in a lot of different ways and allowed me to stand up and vocalize myself a lot more, which I have not necessarily been able to do because I do like go into that shutdown. So I'm unable to like vocalize what I need because I hit that shutdown point before I'm able to do that. And this relationship has really allowed me to not get to the point where I shut down and be able to vocalize before I get to the shutdown point.
very
So
cool.
yeah, that's good.
That's epic. I'll say for me it was my first like bigger, longer relationship was we had a lot of sensitivities to similar things that were very validated by us being together and stuff. But I think in a lot of ways it was also holding us back. So I think this also checks out for me.
Yeah.
And my last point, which I think is kind of interesting, is that hang on one sec. So Chronic shyness is often associated with HSPs, and it's often, and that's considered born of the fear that we won't be approved by others, and it's arousing if you're worrying, and it's arousing. It's extremely arousing if you're worrying about this when you're socializing with people, which makes it really hard to like open up and socialize with people if you're constantly worrying about what they might think. So HSPs become very susceptible to worrying.
I definitely did
heard
that all the time. That was my life.
Well,
but
I'm actually kind of like, I think mine is less worrying about what other people think of me and worrying about if everybody is okay.
Okay.
I don't really give a fuck what people think about me.
I don't anymore either. But
Teach me how to do that.
You'll get there.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, am I saying the right stuff? Blah, 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 all that stuff. But like, I don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah, I really don't.
Now,
the corollary,
I never have. That's just the type of person I
good
am.
for you. The corollary to that for me is as long as I own my own shit when I fuck it up, I don't have to give a fuck what anybody else thinks
it's
about me if I'm happy with me.
Yeah, that control.
But I gotta man up when I have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
You have to person up.
Person up, yeah.
Person up and take
Thank you for
accountability.
saying that. because
Exactly, yeah.
I've had a hard time with that for a long time.
Isn't that funny? That was a bit of a Michael Copage. Think about how we're wording this moment.
It's a good one.
You know, like, yeah. Shout out. Anyway,
Shout out.
yeah. So, I think that's pretty much the bulk of my notes.
Do you want me to go into the recovery ideas?
Yes, I was gonna say, yeah. I think I've pretty much run my course. If you want to
Perfect.
take over, Amanda.
So these recovery ideas are based on HSPs who have gone through some trauma, but are probably for any type of HSP. So some recovery ideas is keep doing the work, especially if you've experienced trauma. The more trauma work you do, the less loud things become. I noticed that for myself at the very least is the more that I deal with my trauma, like me dealing with my sensory triggers, really, really, really helped me turn down the noise of sensory stuff.
Yeah.
Let me throw this in and then I'll let you go. Work the process.
Yeah.
If you have a process that you trust, work the process.
Yeah, and that can look like, establishing boundaries, establishing self-care, things like that.
It's made it impossible for me.
This is all stuff to help all of you HSPs out there that might be listening with your own personal recovery and living your everyday life.
And
Yes.
if you have things that you do, please let us know.
And this is all based on Patrick Tian's. I don't want to take credit for this. This is all his video. So go watch that video. We'll link it down in the comments.
Link it in the description.
It's amazing. Reframe who you are, right? So as you get older, right, when you're growing up and you are living as a highly sensitive person, all of these narratives are filled in your head about what you should be, what you can be, what you're not allowed to be. So rewrite your narrative, reclaim kind of who you are. He said, what was the narrative that was given to you as a kid when you were a highly sensitive person? What would your parents say about you and how you acted as a kid? How is being different in this way a positive thing? So all of those things, right? Like maybe the way that you say your parents would describe you is completely different than you actually are, right? So really ground yourself in who you actually are rather than, who you were told to be growing up.
And sometimes it's hard to distinguish between those two things if you haven't had distance from your parents and the way you were raised.
Or if you haven't like worked a lot.
And it
a
takes
lot on it.
a little bit of living too.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't rush it.
That's true. You gotta have a little bit of lived experience. I will say, like, where I am now, I needed space from my family to understand, what needed to change in our dynamic in order for us to reconnect. Just living with them constantly, I never would have figured that out. I needed that space. It's just everybody, and sometimes it just you gotta shake things up a little bit in order to figure out where progress needs to be made, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think too, like, for me, for a very long time, and really honestly, my whole life, I've been told that like having big emotions has been not a good thing. It's a negative thing. And I think this kind of goes into the next point of mastering the traits is that like now I've learned that feeling and the amount that I feel is so beautiful and it is so wonderful. And I am able to be so compassionate and so empathetic to other people. I'm able to write beautifully. I'm able to get in touch with all of these big, just full emotions that I've never been able to experience in my life. And I think it's such a beautiful thing. And I think it's so wonderful to feel in the way that I do, even on the bad days, even when things are getting too overwhelming and too overstimulating, at least I'm feeling, which I haven't been feeling for most of my life. So that's kind of how I try to reframe it in my brain.
It's the kind of thing where being like that awareness is a huge step forward that you need to give yourself credit for. You know what I mean?
Feeling isn't bad. Feeling is amazing. The fact that you can feel is great.
Yeah. If you're an HSP, you're able to intuitively grasp so much stuff that other people can't.
You are. I forgot it. I'm sorry.
You have a pen.
Oh, show. You said how would they person up?
Person
I think
up.
we got to take master out of the lexicon, right? Because
Master?
there's a mistress and there's a master. Those are titles, and if we say we're mastering something,
Oh, it kind of engenders it, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that there's also a different definition of master.
there are. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I
At
feel
some
like-
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like master could be.
No, I mean, I don't want
master.
to go down that road.
Master, I feel like could be both
Just popped in my
genders.
head.
Yeah, but mistress, because like mistress also has the connotation of like someone that you're sleeping with in secret. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's isn't that strange,
How
right?
can we reframe the term then? Master the traits.
It's not worth it. I'm sorry. It's not
Conquer. No.
I
Too
guess
aggressive.
lean into the
Practice.
discomfort. Lean into the traits that you have. Lean into
Lean into. I like
Steer
that.
into the curve. The pain.
steer to the skid. There we go.
refine your skills, refine your.
I think it's more like you have these traits, right? As an HSP, you have these traits. You'll look at it when you take the quiz. We've talked about a lot of traits, but being able to, mold those traits and being able to use them to your advantage, I think is really the point with this, right? Is to and meet yourself where you're at, right? With me, I know that loud noises and bright environments really stress me out. So I make sure I always have sunglasses on me and I always have earplugs. And smells are really bothersome for me. I always have hand sanitizer. Like those things I am learning to adapt to the traits that I have. And I think that's really important. And I know that I'm extremely empathetic. So that's why I work from home now 2 days a week, because I can't do 5 days a week in the office. Right. So that's all about meeting myself where I'm at.
When you say about being thankful for feeling, I do that too. And I'm glad you brought that up. This has nothing to do with what we've been talking about, but I've been able to do that too, even when it sucks, just to go, this is pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
So thanks for bringing that one up.
Yeah, of course.
Good stuff.
And the last one is practice not feeling so much for others, which is really difficult for me, but I've been trying my best.
Yeah, no shit. That's got to be hard.
I have to.
Yeah.
I have to, especially, as in, I don't even know if this is an HSP or a trauma thing. Sometimes they get muddy and they intersect with one another. But when I think that other people have an issue with me because of the way in which they're acting around me, and I take that and I form a narrative about it in my brain, I have to, keep reminding myself, it's not my responsibility to guess if they have an issue with me, or it's not even my responsibility to guess if they're upset. It's their responsibility to come to me if they need something, or come to me and tell me that they're upset.
100%.
So I have to keep grounding myself in that.
Let me ask you this about exposure therapy. What if I came to your office one time a long time ago and said I felt like cutting myself, and I didn't, and that's all I needed to say, and it went away. What if I did? What if I was going through something? I came and what's it called? Body doubled.
Yeah.
Gave you not only the right or the okay, but please don't take on what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So you could kind of practice that. Not just me, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Popped into my head.
Definitely. I'll say I tend to jump and go all in very quickly when it comes to trying to help people, and that has pushed people away from me before, because not everybody's ready to face that.
Oh my gosh. I tell people things about themselves they have not learned yet. And then I used to do this a lot, and I felt so bad afterwards, because you could just see, because stuff that I thought that was so obvious to me.
Yeah, you're right.
That I thought they had to know. And I'm pretty sure I've done this to you a bunch of times.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially in the beginning. When we first
in the beginning.
When we first started working together, I was like, you do realize that this is because of this, right? And then you were like, no, what the hell? And then I would have to like reel it in and be like, oh shit, my bad.
Tell me,
Oh my
this-
God.
This is, I mean, the very best story of all is the email that we got after the meeting. Nate and I went to a meeting, and they didn't have her email, and we just said we were, from the recovery center. And
Yeah.
they sent an email out with the notes on it, the agenda, notes, and it said we were happy to have Bill and Amanda Brown from the recovery center here. So I printed it off and I went down to Amanda's office. And I said, "Look, they think we're married," and she said,
Bill and
"Bro,
Amanda
they
Brown.
think you're my dad." So I went into
Yeah,
that would
make more sense.
That mode.
I was 24 at the time.
You're right, and I was 112.
Dude,
so
they think 112
my
years young.
that was the quickest my brain has ever gotten to. Let it go, dude. You were wrong. Just
That's
let it go.
really funny.
And I think I did pretty quickly.
I
'cause
think you're
was
my
like,
dad.
Wow.
Your face got so beat red too.
Oh my God. That and my friend that I met online that just ghosted me after I told her to ghost me.
Oh, I've been ghosted recently too. It's a lot of fun. Let me
So
tell
I
you.
asked for it though.
I'm writing a
and I
song
got
about it.
So
You got what you
those
asked
were
for.
the two.
Careful what you ask for.
Two humbling experiences.
And I think that's
I've had.
actually a really good point too. And like when you have to, I specifically, I just want to say me because I don't want to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is I have to always be careful about that specifically is like assuming I know what other people are thinking or feeling.
Yeah.
I am right sometimes.
Yeah,
but not
same.
always.
I'm right like 60% of the
Right,
time.
but it's just like it's so much work to try to do that. It's so much like mental math to try to figure out what somebody else is thinking and to like what they're feeling and
And
how
that
they
gets
feel towards me. And
overwhelming.
it's like so easy for me to do because it's a skill that I've learned for so long,
Yeah,
especially
same.
growing up in the environment in which I grew up, where I had to be hyper aware of how everybody was feeling. Like I mastered that skill, but it's so like dysregulating to my nervous system
Yeah.
that I have learned to like try to like let it go as much as possible. Like I'll have that initial reaction and then I'll be like, not your job, not your monkey, not your circus.
I like that.
not
you
your
know,
monkey, not your circus.
The older I get, the more I just ask direct questions and use nouns and verbs too. It's okay.
Yeah.
Which is hard for me.
I know it is. But
That's valid.
I'm not kidding. It's hard.
No,
for
I get
me.
it completely. But
Words are
it's
hard.
I found that I get a lot quicker to where I need to get if I just use nouns and verbs and
You just speak
ask
up.
exactly what I need to know.
Yeah. I think maybe that's why I struggle so much to like set boundaries and stand up for myself because maybe I am a highly sensitive person and I
Yeah.
take their reaction and their answer like way more serious than it needs to be.
Can we?
Yeah.
Not this time, but I think that boundaries. I'm testing my own boundaries with people. Do people do that?
Yeah.
I don't like that, but okay. Boundaries, I hate them.
No, they're so hard. It's so difficult.
Yeah, I'm like, why am I testing my boundaries with this person?
And I was like, episode 2 of Podcast Boundaries. We're going to have fun. It's going to be great. And y'all were like, I didn't realize what I was doing. I'm sorry.
Your research, awesome. Your experience, thanks for sharing it. Do you have anything else?
I think that's
only
it.
have one more thing. You,
What?
brain blue balls.
Brain blue
Yes.
balls. Yes.
And
That's the alternate name for this episode.
So
I
funny.
was really impressed when you pulled out ineffable, but then you explained it kind of in an offhand way when it's inexplicable. And I'm like, no, you walked past it because it was really cool. I'm like, I don't think she really knows, but yeah, she did. Okay. Did you just learn that? Or were you just,
Why do you act like I don't have a minor in English and a certificate in creative writing, Bill?
Acknowledge my education, damn it.
because of the Oxford comma stance that you have, and I negate the entire experience.
I am for Oxford commas.
I'm for Oxford commas.
See? You are of the minority in this group.
I'm the old guy too.
You think it has to do with that?
Maybe it's new wave. Maybe it's new school teachings. I don't know.
I don't know what it is, but I trust you guys because pretty much the old people are wrong.
I mean,
I
you're
can
only
give you-
like 118.
What war did you live through? I'm sorry for whatever war you lived through.
Dude, I'm living through one right now between my ears.
Jeez, the war of life for sure. All right. I think that's it for HSP. Do we got anything else? We'll link the test. We'll link the website. We'll link the video.
Yes.
We told you what book it was.
We told you
what book it was, and we'll link that
Nathan told
too.
you his little idea. So
I really didn't mean it like that. I feel bad. I didn't mean to say little. I meant like.
I don't know. I know what I heard. That's what
little idea.
That's what I said on
I'm
accident.
blanking.
I was like, "Are you done with your little idea?"
Like, it does sound like condescending.
So bad, but I meant like with your thought. Like
Yeah. No,
I meant it instead of little. I meant
Dude,
like condensed.
That second meaning didn't even occur to me. So yeah, it's whatever.
I just wanted to give you something to think about tonight.
I really didn't mean like that. But I'm just
for
saying
sure.
stuff. You know, my fucking my mouth moves faster than my
I
brain
had to
sometimes.
call you out on it because you're
absolutely.
very vain about your English usage.
No,
so.
you're always the one calling me out about it. Gosh.
Yeah, I saw this hilarious on what you said, Amanda. I saw this hilarious TikTok the other day that was just like, my ADHD brain spitting stuff out faster than I can talk about it, and it shows just like 15 kids just like come shooting out of like a slide.
Oh yeah. I've seen that. That's so funny.
It was just I was laughing so hard. I'm just
funny.
like, that's legit like what it feels like.
Literally.
It's just like yeah, that's really funny. But hey, we are the In Our Issues crew. That includes you. I'm Nathan.
I'm Amanda.
I'm Bill.
And we'll see you next time. Don't forget you're awesome.
On In Our Issues.
In Our Issues.
Here's my shoes today.
Ineffable.
Oh,
hey,
that's-
lug soles.
Those
I
are
like
some
those.
sick. Yeah, those are some sick soles.
What'd you get? Those are lug soles.
See you next time.
That's a hey, Gucci.
Peace.
Do you know anyone who you think might be an HSP? If so, send them this podcast. Tell them you thought of them. I'm very excited to announce that we are officially done with our material from the past, and we're going to be shooting fresh new material at the Recovery Center in the art room. Ideally, it's going to be 1 episode a week. You got that right. 1 episode a week, every Friday. Don't forget you're awesome. Peace out.